Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Byrne, and I'll be your moderator today in our second of 5 webinar series, Securing the Enterprise Cloud, where we're going to today focus on security for O365. Presenter today is Director of Cloud Security Architecture, Chris Isbrecht, and in a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Chris, and he'll walk you through a demo of the Avanan platform around O365. The goal of Avanan and the basis for why we were founded was really to provide a single method for implementing best-of-breed security for your cloud-based applications quickly and easily. Our platform was built on the idea that customers should have the ability to quickly and easily address cloud security gaps from a single place without being locked into a single security vendor. So to that end, Avanan has partnered with 60+ security vendors to basically fill the gaps left by cloud-based applications. Within our platform, Avanan connects your SaaS applications to what we call cloudified versions of these security tools. And as you'll see in the demo, provisioning these security tools is all done with a single click of a button. So our approach really makes it easy to provide security capabilities for things like O365, where we're going to do things like provide anti-phishing, zero-day malware protection, or even DLP. Other than making it easy to fill these gaps, we do so, like I said, in a way that doesn't lock you into a single vendor. So we're going to bring the best of breed security to your cloud-based applications. Now, in terms of O365, really, the biggest security concerns people are talking about is how to prevent email-based attacks. Right? When I'm talking about email, I mean phishing and malware-based attacks. The most common types of attacks we're hearing a lot about are email-based attacks containing things like ransomware that maybe Microsoft didn't detect. Phishing attacks as well. So we're actually have a lot of people talking about phishing attacks that make their way through the O365 security gauntlet and lead people to a fake authentication page where the user is asked to present or provide their SaaS credentials, and then in turn those get harvested. The other thing around email that we're hearing a lot about are spoofed emails, where people are essentially, hackers are pretending to be someone they're not, or pretending to be someone of authority in the organization. And in this case, there's nothing malicious in the email, but it's simply a message to the receiver saying, hey, this is CEO, I need you guys to pay an invoice or to wire transfer money. So we hear a lot about these kind of attacks. Now, the second concern that we hear a lot about are customers are concerned about compromised SaaS accounts. And sometimes these result from phishing attacks like I described earlier, or they can occur when another SaaS application is compromised where the user leverages those same credentials. In these cases, hackers are essentially weaponizing your SaaS application or your, in this case, O365 email in that effort to attack others either within the organization or their customers. And really the third concern that we hear quite a bit about is how to control the sharing of sensitive data, specifically limiting the sending of emails or the sharing of OneDrive and SharePoint content that maybe contains things like PHI, PII, or other types of sensitive information. In many cases, a lot of people have that if they have a concern for these sorts of things, many people already have a DLP solution in place. Maybe they got Symantec running on-prem. All they want to do is extend that to O365. Right? So these are really the three key use cases. So in terms of addressing these challenges, there are a few different alternatives, and I kind of go through a couple of them here. One, of course, is that you can pay extra for Microsoft Advanced Threat Protection, or ATP. Yeah, it's better than what you get with Microsoft out of the box, but any hacker can enable ATP within a test account and literally test attacks to see what makes it through ATP and what doesn't. Right? So that's giving them visibility into whether whether Microsoft is vulnerable to a particular kind of attack. Further, it's only Microsoft, and it doesn't extend security to all your other cloud-based applications such as ServiceNow, ShareFile, Box, or Dropbox. Right? And lastly, to be quite honest, our customers, the Avanan customers that have used ATP, they're just looking for better coverage against some of the more targeted based attacks. So another alternative are the MTA based solutions. Again, this is better than nothing. It's better than not having anything there. But still, there are challenges, and most of these challenges stem from the fundamental architecture. They were built and designed for the security of on-prem email. They aren't built around the O365 APIs, which means they aren't leveraging. They're leaving a tremendous amount of capabilities on the table. To be quite honest, it's really hard to imagine a case where security for cloud-based applications doesn't begin with APIs. So you hear me talk a lot about APIs, and Chris talked a lot about APIs throughout this session. Further, we talk about security for O365. It's important to not just look at email, literally, right? Examining just emails alone does not amount to security for O365. Now, lastly, when leveraging MTA-based solutions, the one thing that people don't realize is that you need to disable the security scanning features of O365 by whitelisting the MTA provider. What does this mean? This means that if you use an MTA-based solution, you cannot leverage O365 as another layer of defense. So what is it that we're talking about? What is Avanan's approach? So, our approach is fundamentally different, and we've really redefined what it means to secure cloud-based emails. We've built our platform around the O365 APIs, and using these APIs, we can block malicious emails before it ever shows up in the user's inbox. And Chris is going to demonstrate this for you. Again, we don't need to be an MTA. We don't need to update your MX records. And this means we can deploy minutes for the smallest of customers or the largest of customers. Beyond this fact, APIs give us a list of other capabilities, including things like the ability to extend security to all your other cloud-based applications, right? We also leverage the APIs to protect against internal-to-internal email-based attacks and actually detect compromised accounts. That's a big thing that we're helping a lot of customers with. For customers that do an Avanan evaluation, one of the very interesting things and a lot of positive feedback we get is the aspect that using the APIs, we have the ability to do a retroactive scan for malicious emails, sensitive content within email, within OneDrive and SharePoint. And so we can go back in time, what's in your inbox today that is actually malicious? What are the sensitive files that are being shared externally that you may not be aware of? And then literally with a click of a button, we can quarantine those emails or remove permissions on that files. So with that said, Avanan's offering is a layered approach to security, and we continue to talk about APIs and being a layered approach. And it goes beyond just email, right? So it includes implementing best-of-breed security for things like OneDrive and SharePoint, right? This means you can easily use things like, FireEye, Checkpoint, Lastline to scan all your O365 content for malware, and things like Semantic to look for sensitive information that might be shared externally. But again, it's not just email, it's not just O365, it's everything. It's all your cloud assets, right? So we provide a single platform to secure all your cloud assets under one pane of glass. Our goal isn't just to secure email, it's to provide best-of-breed security across the entire spectrum. Now, in terms of how we work, we get this question a lot. If you're not an MTA, how the heck are you doing this, right? What's the magic? It's pretty simple and straightforward. The first thing we do with every customer that gets an account, we connect we're cloud-based application, right? So we connect your Avanan account to whatever cloud application you want to monitor. So in this case, it's going to be O365. Once that connection occurs, and Chris will walk you through how we do that, Avanan has complete visibility into all emails sent and received in near real time, right? The second thing is upon a user receiving an email, what we do is we actually use the APIs to hold that email from being delivered to the user's inbox, right? And what we do there is then during that time, we inspect the email. We scan it for threats. We scan the email, we look at the headers, we look at the attachments, again, with the cloudified capabilities that you've enabled within our portal. And then if it's clean, of course, we use the APIs to actually have that delivered. If it's malicious, we quarantine the email and have a user-friendly workflow to notify the users of what's actually been what's actually been quarantined. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chris Isbrecht, who's going to walk you through a demonstration.
Okay, great. Thanks, Don. So I'm going to take you through a live demonstration of the portal. So we're going to focus on showing you how to secure Office 365 in less than 10 minutes through our product. The Avanan platform is really an on-demand cloud-based capability and allows us to move very quickly to get visibility into Microsoft, both from an email standpoint, but the API approach that Don talked about really gives us complete visibility across the board. So whether it's login events, OneDrive, SharePoint sites that you want to gain access to, really gives us a very comprehensive continual visibility capability across all of Microsoft. Microsoft does a great job with productivity tools, but in our model, we tend to trust the checkpoints and the FireEyes of the world to help us secure and lock down that information within the cloud. From an enterprise deployment standpoint, it's really a two-step process for us to onboard customers into our platform. The first step would be to decide which SaaS platforms we're going to protect. In this case, we're going to focus on the Microsoft suite. We've done other series that focus on other tools within the platform, but today we'll drill directly into to Microsoft. At a high level, like Don said, this is an API level approach for us to gain that visibility. Really gives us lots of advantages from a continual monitoring standpoint. We're not just looking at email or files at a point in time. This gives us a continual visibility into the environment. It's also very easy to set up. So from a setup standpoint, the only requirement that we have is that you've got access to your global admin account. We do an OAuth authorization. So if we want to tie into email, we'll simply authorize the Avanan platform to be able to talk to Microsoft. That's done via a simple authorization with the global admin account. Once that authorization is done, we're able to see any event that takes place within Microsoft, whether it's login events, emails, attachments that are flowing, access to sites in SharePoint or files that sit in OneDrive. So literally within that minute or two, we've got access to see all the data that sits in the cloud, and gives us then the ability to add additional layers, so a separate authorization for OneDrive and SharePoint. Some things that we don't do in the environment, we're not an MTA, we're not a proxy, so we don't change your MX records in any way. So that really cuts the project time down. So this isn't a 30, 60, 90-day project. We literally in the first 10 minutes can show value of the solution and help protect the environment. Also gives us flexibility to scan all different types of emails, so incoming, outgoing, internal. Really a very comprehensive solution to continually look at this data and make sure that it's secure within the cloud. So that's step one to get us plugged into the environment. Step two would be to decide which types of security tools we're going to leverage to secure the environment and the data that sits there. You'll see within our cloud app store, you've got different categories of security, mainly from best of breed type solutions like FireEye and Checkpoint, the Silences of the world. You'll see everything from predictive malware protection to sandboxing solutions, antivirus solutions within the program. These products have all been cloudified or SaaSified to run within our product, so there's no installation, there's no management servers. You essentially hit the start button on the service, and that's going to automatically provision and allow us the ability to now scan all that data that we have access to within the Microsoft Cloud. You're also going to see some advanced tools here, so things like anti-phishing detection. We've got several best-of-breed providers here. We also provide our SmartPhish solution, which is an Avanan product. It's AI with machine-based learning capabilities. We're looking at over 300 different indicators from an email standpoint to predict whether it's a phishing attempt or not. And then a full policy-based engine to go through and take automated actions to quarantine and lock down the environment from any threats that we might see. So really a comprehensive solution, not only to detect things that happen, but to also take group-based automated policies to really secure and make sure that end users are not receiving phishing attempts, malware to their inbox. We're making automated decisions. We're reading email before it gets to the user and then can do those quarantines. Really, the last thing that we want with our solution is a user to ever see an email that's got a credential harvest link in it, something malicious that can compromise an account. So that's really our first layer of defense here with the phishing protection. And then we'll also talk a little bit about our anomaly detection capabilities to scan at the mailbox level to look for compromised accounts. So whether a user is compromised via email or via other sources, we're able to continually monitor that user activity and the mailbox itself to understand if we've got compromised users. So first line of defense with detection capabilities to understand when bad things happen and users do get compromised accounts. Okay. You'll also see some additional tools here. So data leak prevention, we're able to scan for sensitive information within the cloud, present that information, and then again, take automated policy actions and decisions based on the best of breed tools that you see here. So again, visibility and accountability for what data is actually in the cloud and whether it should be there or not. We do also have integration with best of breed security and event management systems. So if you run a Splunk, an ArcSight, a QRadar today, we've got plugins to be able to share not only security information, but also information about the cloud provider. So we can act as that conduit to get SaaS and security events into your single dashboard from a correlation and management standpoint. And then the last piece here is our shadow IT capability. So we've got the ability here to really do a couple of different things. We can scan the Microsoft environment from an email standpoint to show any third-party SaaS applications that have been registered for. We've got a patent pending approach there that allows us to show what tools users are using via their corporate email account. And then we've also got collectors for firewall logs, DNS logs to show a complete picture of what people are doing, whether it's sanctioned or unsanctioned from a SaaS standpoint. Okay, so that's literally the entire setup. It takes longer to talk about the options than it does to actually get configured and to start to scan the environment. Once this process is complete, we'll confirm the security stack. We'll show you all the tools that have been turned on, as well as the SaaS products that are being protected. You'll see the ability here to mix and match those tools across the board and pick the best tool for the specific environment. From there, what starts to happen, so during our initial scan period, we'll go through and we'll look at the entire history of the environment. So this is another big advantage from an API standpoint. We can go backwards and do an assessment of the environment, show you malware, show you phishing attempts, anomaly actions that might have taken place from a historical standpoint, and then we can also start real-time scanning going forward. Once that scanning takes place, our main dashboard here will start to light up for us. This is where we're going to see really an event-driven approach across the top of the screen. We're going to drill in and show you different types of events in the system. So phishing, malware, data leak prevention. We'll show you some anomaly events here as well. So this is really the best indicator to understand what's happening with events and with data that sits in the cloud. You'll see a couple of different tools here. So the pending, these are really from a visibility standpoint, anything new that comes into the system. We've got manual and automated quarantining capabilities. So if I click into here, I'm going to see any pending events that have not been dealt with, either with automated policy or through a manual action. I've got the ability here to drill in and see more details. You'll also see the quick workflow actions here. So if I want to send user alerts or quarantines, I've got the ability to drill in and see specifically what happened with the email. You'll see the profile. You'll have direct access to things like email headers. So if I want to do some inspection here, I can do that. More importantly, you'll see the indicator dashboard here. So we're going to show you all the reasons why we believe that this is a phishing attempt. over 300 different indicators that we look at to understand whether this is a legitimate sender, whether it's legitimate content that's coming through to the user. You'll also see some more details here in the exclamation point. If we've got links associated with it, you'll see more detail there. So the combination of indicators with our machine-based learning algorithm can draw the lines between the dots and figure out, what are legitimate emails and what need to be acted upon from a phishing standpoint. Excuse me. So all of your troubleshooting, all of your investigation work can be done from a single console here. You've also got the ability to download the body of the email on demand from Microsoft through our platform. So the ability to see anything and everything that you would need to manage the Microsoft environment from a threat management standpoint. From a malware standpoint, this is really where the best of breed stack is going to kick in for us. I'll show you just a couple of examples here. So let's drill into to OneDrive for this one. So here, we'll find a piece of malware. Here you're going to see the best of breed security stack. Any engines that are enabled, you'll be able to see the raw details here. You'll see the profile of the file itself, any permissions, if there's shares. You'll see all of the communications and download, upload information from a file standpoint. In this case, we've got a couple of providers that have flagged this as a malicious file. For the more advanced tools like predictive malware and sandboxing, we do have the ability to provide the emulation reports directly from the providers. So you're able to download those on demand through our platform. You'll be able to see suspicious activity, processes, any screen captures from the emulation itself. So these are the off-the-shelf versions of FireEye, of Checkpoint, Lastline. So what we're taking advantage of their best-of-breed security to find threats, and then with our platform, we can do the automated policy and quarantine and lockdown. We hear this from a lot of customers. Microsoft builds great productivity tools and workflow tools, but we need a best-of-breed security approach. We want to extend our FireEye, our Checkpoint products from the corporate network and apply those protections to the cloud. And the Avanan platform gives you that conduit to be able to see the data and then use those tools that you're familiar with and trust to be able to secure the environment. Let's do another quick example here. So data leak prevention, we give you complete visibility here as well. So any files, any emails that sit within the cloud, we're able to show results. We can tie into your existing system. So if you've got a semantic implementation that's on-prem, we can act as an enforcement point and extend those capabilities to the cloud. So you've got lots of options here to really extend those products that you know and you're familiar with and allow us to be that conduit to get to the data. Let's do another quick OneDrive example. So here we'll see, here's a file that's got 69 hits in it for PHI, PCI, and HIPAA compliance. If we drill into the details here, you'll be able to see it passed, from a malware detection standpoint, but we found credit card and social security numbers. If we drill in here, you'll get the counts and the different leak types, role-based administration to decide whether you can see the detail or not that comes through. So based on the permissions of the administrator, we can allow you to see the mail, the attachment. You could also see the actual results there to validate the information from the file. So again, this is complete visibility. This is inbound, outbound scanning, internal to internal. We can show you the information and help you make intelligent decisions on whether this information should be shared. We can remove permissions, we can quarantine, and really make sure that you understand everything that happens with data that sits within the cloud. Okay. The last piece that I'll show here in the dashboard, the Anomaly event system. So this is going to correlate events across all the different SaaS platforms. We've got the ability here to drill in. So let's look at OneDrive, SharePoint, and email. What you're going to see here is the ability for us to really scan and understand user behavior. So we're able to detect things like new country logins. We can correlate events from places in the world like Nigeria, where we tend to see lots of activity from a threat standpoint. We can also do things like cross-SAS Superman type detections. So if we see, here's a good example. So user logs into email and Dropbox from 2 different countries within a short interval. These are the types of things that we're able to correlate with the events that come in. And then we can also, at the mailbox level, we can look for any changes, if there's auto forward rules, delete rules, emails being moved to subfolders. The ability to understand that behavior and when it's outside of the normal user behavior, and kick off alerts and alarms, reset passcodes, deactivate accounts. So it really gives you eyes to understand the user. And in this case, whether the user is compromised through email or through a credential harvest through a web browser, we're able to protect you and scan to bring this detail back and help lock down the environment from not only attacks, but when attacks are successful, being able to find the compromised users and give you the ability to shut those down in real time. Okay, so what we mostly showed here was the visibility capabilities. So this is giving you access to see what's happening. The next part I want to focus on is the policy detection capability. So it's great that we can show you. What we really want to do is stop these threats from finding users and getting to inboxes. Our tool is going to run in 3 different modes. So we've got an inline protection mode, which is really going to replicate what you would get in a pure MTA type environment. We're able to delay the delivery of email. We're able to scan and then only provide clean emails to the user inbox. This is a group-based policy capability, so you can decide which users are affected by the policies, or you can affect all users. And then under the Advanced tab here, these are all the different workflows that we have. So you can decide which tools are running. You can decide what the workflow looks like from a user standpoint. We've got malicious workflows. So do we want to do an automated quarantine? Is there a user notification? Are there false positive workflows to release mail? So you've got the ability to make those policy decisions at the workflow level, customize the user interaction, and really give a custom experience for the user. You can insert your custom languages, logos to make the end user aware of what the process is and what they're going through. We'll show a quick live demonstration on the user side as well here in a minute. Okay, so that's the policy framework. This was a threat detection example. You're going to see the same thing, whether it's OneDrive, SharePoint. You can set your DLP policies here as well. So you'll see in the console, you can select your DLP rules. We've normalized the interface here from a DLP standpoint. So it really gives you the ability to customize this solution down to the group level and invoke different levels of policy based on those users. Okay. So that's the overview from a management standpoint and from a portal standpoint. The next thing we want to do is show a real quick demonstration of the end user experience. We're going to send a quick phishing attack here and show you the catch process and the custom notification. So we're going to send a phishing attack. So let's do this. So we're going to send the attack to a protected user within the Avanan portal. We're going to watch the inbox here for that to show up for us. The scanning is going to take place in real time. It's going to take place before it hits the user's inbox. This is something that we're able to do via APIs and mail rules within the solution. Typical delays are anywhere from a couple of seconds for phishing and data leak prevention and AV scans. Could range up to a minute or less based on some of the more advanced tools that we have around sandboxing and around full emulations of files. You'll see there's not really a noticeable delay from a performance standpoint. The email here has been automatically quarantined. I've got a custom message. if there were a file associated with this, if it were malware that was caught by any of the security tools, you would see that information here. And from a policy standpoint, my policy was set to quarantine, notify the user, and we also have a built-in release management process. So if I wanted to, if I think I need the email, if there were an attachment that I needed access to, I've got a capability here, all based on policy to communicate with the system, send requests to have those mails through a restore workflow, all policy driven. So everything from blind quarantines to a full notification system within the portal. So if we jump back to the admin portal here for a second, you'll see we automatically catalog that event here. So our total went up because of the automated action. I can come and I can see that this email was automatically quarantined. I can see the reasons why. I can see any links that were associated with the attack itself. And then if the user were to ask for the justification to have it restored, we've got a separate quarantine workflow here where you can see everything that's been quarantined and then any pending requests for mail to be released to the end user. So really gives us, again, a lot of flexibility to set the policy and automate the protection with Microsoft with the best of breed security stack. We also have really some tools within the product that help us from a productivity standpoint and from an investigation standpoint. If anybody on the call has done PowerShell scripts to go out and look for a subject, a sender, and correlate that information and go through an actual quarantine process. We've also built some tools here that give us the ability to give you that visibility in a custom query mechanism. I like to think of this really as PowerShell scripts on steroids. We can get you to any information within the SaaS platforms within a couple of clicks. So if I want to see recent emails, if I want to drill in, see connectivity workflows from certain users, I've got the ability here to search, sort, filter. If I want to find a certain subject, I can do a quick contains query here. I can then go through and take automated actions from here. So if I want to quarantine these mails, I can set my action and then automatically quarantine, notify, send events to a SIM provider. So really cuts down on the investigation work, direct access within a click or two to any information from the SaaS platform. And then you can also correlate that with the security tools. So if you want to bring in results from a phishing standpoint, if you want to see any of the indicators, you want to see FireEye checkpoint results, you can write the custom reports directly from the query capability. Okay. So that's the demonstration from an end user standpoint and from an administrative and setup standpoint. The ability for us to really secure the environment less than 10 minutes from a setup standpoint, and really gives us complete visibility, control, and security over the cloud environment. If this is something that's interesting to go through, we offer a 14-day trial of our product that you can test within your own environment. The process takes about 10 minutes or so to onboard. We'll do education, best practices on the portal. We'll allow you to test up to 5 users with our automated inline policy and protection capability. So that's something that typically takes less than 2 hours. A couple of calls from a review and training standpoint, and we'll provide a full assessment report at the end of that session from an executive overview standpoint. So if anybody's interested, we'll show you the links here at the end of the session to get yourself set up on the 14-day trial. With that done, I will hand it back to you.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Yeah, the one other thing to add is that a lot of times we do what we call a security checkup. It's basically a one-time scan. So if you don't want to commit to the 14-day trial, but you want to know, hey, is there a problem? Do I have things sitting in my user's inbox that contain malware or phishing attacks? We do security checkups all the time, and at the end of it, We provide a nice report to show you where the threats are and give you the ability to take action on that. And a lot of times that's helpful to understand, do I need to go and find solutions to help me solve this problem? In terms of next steps, you know, if you all have questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We got a link here specific, avanan.com/next steps. If you want a trial, you want to do your own demo, you got questions about pricing. If you do, you know, if you want to see the full capabilities, we'd be more than happy to set up a time to chat. And then last thing here, again, we've got, we're going to continue the series next week. We're going to focus on G Suite. Today, obviously, was around O365. Next week, it's going to be around G Suite. And then March 1st, we're actually shifting gears a little bit, and we're gonna talk about how this platform extends to cover the infrastructure as a service applications. And then we're going to end the series on cloud takeover protection. I appreciate your time, and you know, let us know if you got any questions. We will certainly be in touch. Thanks for your time.